lovers, the moon is a thing of beauty. But to this man it is a deadly curse. When the moon is full, this miserable wretch turns into a hairy, snarling half-man, half-beast. Prowls the night, his fangs thirsty for human blood. He is a werewolf.
Hello and welcome to the Werewolf by Night podcast, the show where we talk about Marvel's #1 lycanthrope, Jack Russell, a.k.a. the Werewolf, a.k.a. the Beast, a.k.a. the Shaggy One. I'm your co-host, Matt Howell.
And I'm Jacob Balcom.
Thanks for joining us this week, listeners. We are going to be diving into Werewolf by Night, issue number 20. But first, we wanted to share some reader mail. We have been saying that we'd love to get some letters from you guys, either asking us questions or telling us what you think about the show or about the series. And we got a letter from someone, so we're going to share that right now.
So yeah, we have an email from Mark Nivens. He says, "Hi, I'm really enjoying your podcast. I grew up reading Werewolf by Night back in the 70s, and it's been great going back through my collection as you guys review the issues. Jack Russell is an underused character, so thanks for bringing some attention to him. Maybe you can do an episode comparing the comic to the 1987 TV show Werewolf. Also, you guys crack me up when you go off topic. Thanks a lot and keep up the awesome work, Mark."
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. That's great.
And I like to get validated that when we go off topic, we're doing a good thing. We're doing a service to the show.
We are.
So he raised an interesting point, one that I thought about since we started this thing, which was the Werewolf TV series. So when Fox was a new station in 1987, I believe, one of the first things out of the gate was Married with Children and then Werewolf. And it ran for one season, 29 episodes, including the pilot movie. And it was a show about a young man, American male kid, who his roommate gets attacked by a werewolf and becomes a werewolf, bites him, I think. It's kind of his quest to, he needs to kill the werewolf that basically started the bloodline in order to free himself from this curse. So it was an ongoing serialized story where the lycanthrope is the main character. So it makes perfect sense that Mark would wonder if we would ever want to compare those. And I would really like to. I thought at the time, I remember Werewolf. Did you watch Werewolf, Jacob?
No, I had never seen it. I saw some clips on YouTube after we got the email, but no, I've never seen an episode fully.
Okay. So I remember at the time in 87, it felt very bleeding edge. It was very violent and scary for a show. So Fox was definitely, announcing what their values were with Married with Children and Werewolf. There was like, there's going to be violence. There's going to be toilet jokes, whatever, Yeah, I really dug the series. It kind of creeped me out because I was like 12, but I like the idea that there's an ongoing story like that. The head werewolf is a sailor named Janos Scorsese or something like that, Scorsese. And that's the same name as the vampire in the first Night Stalker TV movie, right, with Kolchak. So it's kind of a little nod to Kolchak. And it's funny because Darren McGavin's main complaint about Kolchak the Night Stalker, the TV series, was he thought it was dumb that they want to do a Freak of the Week thing like X-Files did, like a different monster every week, different story he's doing and dealing with a monster. He said it'd be way more compelling if you treat it like The Fugitive, and I'm chasing after that first vampire that's been revived by somebody from the first TV movie, and the series is following me traveling across the country, always like one step behind him and dealing with the fallout of this vampire. And the producers thought that was dumb. And it got canceled after one season. So I think he was right.
No, he was absolutely right. That would have been really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's a roundabout way of saying I'm into it. So I thought about talking to you, Jacob, before about doing some Werewolf. It's, if I recall, I've watched an episode or two as an adult and it's very dated. I believe that there's like a screaming blues guitar solo, like constantly going throughout, like if not transitions between scenes, at least like just in the background, there's just like this soulful white blues guitar guy just going, like it's not that bluesy, like deserty, but it's really bluesy, edgy.
Yeah, and I saw that Chuck Connors plays the main werewolf, which I thought was awesome.
He does. He is Janos. So I think that Jacob and I agreed here before we start recording that we'll watch the pilot movie and we'll check back in with you guys and do kind of a little mini review. And you can find that on YouTube if you just search for Werewolf 1987 pilot or Werewolf 1987 episode 1. You will find the entire, I think, 90-minute pilot. So please feel free to watch along and tell us what you think. And thanks, Mark, for the letter. We appreciate that.
Yeah, any other emails we can get would be amazing.
Yeah, we would love to read your mail on the show, and you can always email us at werewolfbynightpodcast@gmail.com. And you could be read on the air. You. Not you. You. You know you are. Any other business here, Jacob, before we dive into this Munchie episode?
No, not that I could think of. Yeah, this is definitely a different tone than the Friedrich stuff. It's crazy, like the Friedrich stuff, but yeah, a bit different, which we're going to get into.
I'm going to go ahead and tip my hand here, and I really like where he comes out of the gate here, where Doug Moench comes out of the gate. A lot of people, I gather that people feel like he's kind of this is where it kind of jumps the shark a little bit, and when it gets kind of strange, I don't know, silly, goofy, something. I actually think this is like one of my favorite little runs here is this stuff that gets introduced in this issue. I'm curious to hear what you thought of it because I'm a little precious about it.
Yeah, no, I'll keep that in mind.
No, don't temper your opinion to please me. That's the last thing I want. Okay, so we've got a Gil Kane cover. They're not 100% sure who did the inks, but I think it's Mike Esposito. Would you say that's accurate?
I think that's accurate. The other possible credit that they had on Grand Comics Database were Gil Kane layouts over John Romita pencils, if I'm correct. And I don't see that as much. I see Gil Kane with Mike Esposito on inks, and Nick Caputo thinks that, who's a historian I respect. So I'm going to go with Caputo. Okay,
so it's Kane and Esposito. No Romita layouts.
I don't know. No Romita pencils over Gil Kane layouts. I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
But we've already disputed that, so whatever. We have an interesting cover here. We have one of those things where the cover is divided into thirds lengthwise, and the top third is just the Werewolf by Night logo with a red field in the background, like a flag, which is kind of interesting. We talked about that before when that happened. It came up. It kind of seemed like a weird way of panelizing, I think was the term I used, the cover. But the cover here is interesting. So it's got the Beast, and he's inside of a cell, a pen, a asylum, something with bars on the windows. And there's a bench seat, a knocked over glass of water, an ashtray, and I don't know what else, on a little table. And he's got his feet planted on the wall, and he's yanking on the bars of the cell and pulling them out of their roots of the wall. So there's dust trickling down. The bars of the cell are bending in, and he is like vibrating with the fury that he's yanking on these, pulling them inward to escape from wherever he is. And in the background, you can see some very 1960s business people looking in going, like surprised that this is happening, with their little suits on and their hats. Nobody wore those, right? Nobody wore hats in 1974. Like Sinatra, nobody did that anymore, did they?
No. Technically, JFK killed the hat. He killed the hat in 1960. Really? So yeah.
Why JFK?
Well, he was the first president to not wear a big fucking stovepipe top hat. Like, so
so you're saying by not wearing it, he normalized not wearing a hat.
Yes, he made it okay.
As formal wear.
And so, yes, by 1974, it was less about the hat and all about the sideburns.
Yes, I completely agree. I'm trying to think when Sinatra abandoned hats. It was probably around the time he went from Capitol to starting Reprise, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He called it Reprise, but I don't want to sound like a local yokel.
No, he's wrong.
But he's wrong in the best way possible. The only that Frank Sinatra can be wrong.
You know it, Pally.
And this one has a little bit of copy at the bottom. There's a little yellow box that says "The Monster Breaks Free." And I'm going to go ahead and spoil not only this entire episode, but the beginning of the next one. This scene doesn't appear until the first scene of the next issue.
I noticed that too. I know. I wasn't going to say that it's weird. It almost made me wonder if they just they had a cover for this and it didn't work out. And so they just kind of used the art or layout from that future page. I don't know. It's strange.
I love the inking that Esposito does on the fur. That is like my favorite type of fur inking, where it's like sharp and like zigzaggy, like Hobbes's fur or something in Calvin and Hobbes. And this reminded me a lot. Tell me if I'm crazy. Every time I've seen this since the first time I saw it, I always immediately think of The Amazing Spider-Man issue 33 towards the end of Ditko's run, which is that famous cover, which is called The Final Chapter. And it's got Spider-Man crouching down, and he's like holding up all this. I forget what the
machinery.
Machinery,
It's like
just
steel
water
machinery
flooding down over him. But it always makes me think of that for some reason, just because like this physical feat that is beyond what the person can do, but they're doing it in this miraculous way. I don't know. I've always thought of Spider-Man 33 when I see this cover.
No, absolutely. And it's funny you said that. I have it's probably a, rated a good copy, but I have an actual copy of Spider-Man 33. And I read it recently, and God, it's so good.
It is. I'm long overdue to reread the Ditko Lee run of Spider-Man. So, let's dive in.
All right. So on the opening page, well, like you said, we have a new writer on the series that will end up being the most prolific writer of the title. He authors 24 regular series issues and 4 giant size issues. It's Doug Moench. And I know you're excited. He started writing mainly for Warren and Skywald in the early 70s. And his first Marvel credit is in Chamber of Chills 7, where he actually pens a werewolf story drawn by Ron Wilson.
Hey.
Which I thought was pretty cool. And he's literally written hundreds of comics for Marvel over the years. He worked on, and in the beginning, he worked on Tales of the Zombie and Vampire Tales for Marvel's Black and White magazines, Master of Kung Fu, did a big run on Ghost Rider, just like too many to even mention, really. But he wrote all the Planet of the Apes magazines with Mike Plug.
Damn.
Which, we need to read those.
Yeah, we mentioned that every few episodes. We need to pick that up.
Yeah, and he was at Marvel for most of the 70s. He left when Jim Shooter rose to power. I feel like we've said that multiple times as well.
Yeah, I don't want to be a shooter basher, but
no, I don't.
Facts is facts.
Yeah, a lot of these guys did not like how he was handling things and took off. I see both sides. I see the good that he did for the company, and I see how people thought he was an asshole. So I totally get it. Yeah, after that, he went over to DC and wrote Batman on and off for years and years. He's a prolific author, and he'll be with us for the rest of the run. Yeah, in the interviews I've read with Moench and Perlin, they both have really nice things to say about each other. It seems like they had a really great working relationship.
Harmonious.
Yeah, it seems like Perlin even had a hand in pitching storylines, which is cool. Like, not all writers are into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the rest of the credits we have on art, we have Don Perlin on pencils, Vince Colletta on inks, Dave Hunt as letterer, Petra Goldberg on colors, and Roy Thomas, editor.
So we still have the reign of Colletta right now.
Yep, a couple more issues. We just got to get through a couple more issues.
I actually have no complaints about his work in this issue, to be honest.
No, I have just a few, but barely any, really.
I feel like everything I don't like about the way he draws monsters or inks monsters, or him and Perlin, but is made up for the way that they realize Jack. Like, I really like the way they draw Jack and ink him.
Now, Jack looks great in this issue. I have a problem with some other things, but Jack looks amazing.
Yeah.
So the opening page is a familiar layout of 3 small panels over 1 large one. And it's okay. Like, I wasn't crazy about this first page, but the upper 3 panels show Jack walking through a park, like kind of fretting and brooding over Lissa's disappearance. And in the larger bottom panel, we see a werewolf that's spying on Jack from behind a tree. So I guess, I know what they're trying to do with this kind of mystery werewolf, but I didn't like the drawing of this. This was one of the werewolf drawings that I was not super hot on.
The way they depict him throughout the issue, or just in this panel?
This one especially. I think it's a little heavy of an ink job by Colletta. That's not ideal to me. I like other instances where this character comes up. I do, but this opening one, I had kind of a jarring time with this first page, just because, honestly, it was because of the copy and the letters. For some reason, it hurt my eyes a little bit because the whole thing, all the narration in this issue is slanted to almost like an italicized level.
Yeah.
And it hurt my eyes after a while. Did you have that experience?
I not to that extent, but I do not like reading when people italicize. It bothers me it makes my eyes tired as well. I think you're compensating mentally for the letters leaning. And so it tires your eyes out quickly. So that, and that there's, when there is a lot of prose, it's slammed in here, I feel like.
Yeah, so I think the issue gets a lot better than this opening page lets on. And at the bottom of that bottom panel, we have...
It's not elegant. I just wanted to... Sorry to interrupt you there. I agree with you that it's not elegantly done at all, this first page. Sorry.
No, and the title of the issue at the bottom there is called Eye of the Wolf.
I liked some things about this. I like in that first panel, as Jack's walking through this LA park, that there's almost like a Escher kind of quality to like these sets of stairs that are going around, and it just looks like he's walking in an impossible plane. And I like in that second panel where he's coming out from under an overpass in the park, and there's this weird dry brush thing that I guess Coletta did, where there's like these wisps of white going horizontally that look like there was no ink on the brush. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Did that come across in the digital one?
Yeah, I kind of like that. You liked that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did
like
too.
That. And I didn't see until the second time I read it that in that second panel, the stalker werewolf is in there already watching him. I did not notice that the first time. So I thought that was a cool little inclusion of sneaking him up there in the corner. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But you're right. It's a really cool little touch. Yeah, there are good things about this opening page.
I agree with you that's clunky and it doesn't look good, but like when I dive into each individual element, I like it. Like the third panel, it's just a close-up of Jack as he's thinking, all the stuff about Lissa and whatever, but it's a very like romance comic hunk kind of drawing of him, and it looks really good. And we can agree to disagree about the werewolf, but yeah, I mean, he has whole pants on. So we already get tipped off here that this is not your average werewolf, right? We've met Raymond Coker. He's not your average werewolf. This guy has untorn pants, so he obviously has some intellect about him. At least that was my first takeaway.
You notice, he's in blue pants, which is new. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you see he has kind of a mysterious ring on as well.
Yes. I love this stupid stuff. So on the next page, we get this handy recap of what happened in Giant-Sized Creatures, how he met Tigra, the whole Louis Belsky incident, and the Ma Mayhem incident of the Behemoth issue. So if you're new, you just got recapped on all this stuff. And there's a nice little montage of Thought Balloon there where they show all that stuff happening. And then Coker pops out of the bushes in the middle of the night. And Jack's kind of surprised to see him. He's like, what are you doing here? And it's like, well, I'm looking for these herbs that I use in my cure that you ruined the other night when you came barreling through my wall. And, they're talking about that. And he's like, hey, no need to gnash your teeth, Coker. We werewolves have to stick together. And Coker's like, yeah? And in the background, there's that werewolf silhouette watching them from behind the trees. And then he says, well, even now that we know the only real cure for lycanthropy is to kill another werewolf. And Jack says, well, you've got your herbs to prevent you from transforming, so you shouldn't need to kill me. Very, very weird little stagey interaction between these two characters, like in almost like Greek or Roman, like, that very stiff, formal, theatrical kind of way. Yeah,
this is the first instance to where I do like what Doug Moench does with this issue. I like how crazy it is. I like how fun it is. I just feel like there's a few times in this issue where you're like, okay, he needs an issue or two to find everybody's voice.
Yes, this first outing here, this first scene is particularly clunky, but I did like how as he's recalling the Hydra and the Tigra and the vampires and Ma Mayhem, he says they all seemed like refugees from a B flick, which is kind of like a weird self-reflective, Yeah,
I liked
postmodern
that
kind of take on that. Like he's aware of how absurd some of this stuff is. I like that. And the herb thing, that was not explicitly mentioned prior. That's Moench, because before it was a pentagram and incense, and it wasn't explicitly like herbs he ruined. He just ruined the spell, right?
Yeah, he ruined the spell. And so, yeah, I guess herbs were some sort of ingredient to that Coker has to find at night for some reason.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. And as the two, Coker and Jack, are talking, and that werewolf is looking on, I couldn't help but think this seems like something where like a equivalent of spider sense would kind of come in handy. Like, wouldn't two werewolves being watched by a third werewolf from a predatory distance kind of feel something in some type of ancient intuitive flow?
You would think so. Yeah, it's pretty rare that three werewolves are going to find each other in L.A. It's a little weird.
Which is what I love about this.
Yeah, it is. See, on the next page, Jack says, and as for me, let's just say that Jack Russell couldn't kill anyone. As long as you steer clear of me during the full moon, you're safe. And I love that. I love what he says to Coker as he's saying goodbye to him. He's like, be seeing you, sunshine.
I love how he kind of pads his whole, like, I couldn't kill anybody unless it's a full moon.
Yeah.
I'm that way with whiskey. Like, yeah. I would never hit anybody unless I have like a half a fifth of whiskey.
Yeah, because we've been with Jack this whole time, and he has definitely killed people.
Yes. And I like in the foreground of that panel, like the beast is there. They're in silhouette, and the beast is in the foreground, like flanking the whole thing and watching. Again, they're oblivious. I don't know why that's amusing to me.
The next panel, the mystery werewolf kind of hears their very loud conversation in the park about being werewolves. And he's thinking, so they're both werewolves. Interesting. Very interesting. This ring has aided my detective work immensely.
So I had to raise a flag here, pull a yellow card out. Like, that was a bit heavy-handed, no? I mean, like, I already have a guess of who this is, don't you? Based on that thought balloon?
Yeah, based on that thought balloon, and also just how his face is drawn here. I mean, the werewolf is drawn really well in that panel, I think. And it just looks like Lou Hackett. Like, you look at it, you're like, oh, that's Lou Hackett as a werewolf.
Yeah, this is a werewolf with like David Hasselhoff, like blown dry, like brushed back feathered hair. Like, it's
just like Lou Hackett.
It's Lou Hackett. Like, I just feel like that could have been, some breadcrumbs here and there, just kind of peddled that out a little bit and just like, but nope. Now I know it's Lou Hackett with a, we've seen The Ring, so we're already putting two and two together because we're old men.
Yeah.
Again, 12 years old, I probably wouldn't I have no idea what's going on, but I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we cut to Jack arriving back at his pad at Colden House, where he finds sexy Clary parked on his couch. And she says she's been worried about Jack since he freaked out at Mallet Studios, which just reminded me that he did that. And she took off not knowing he was a werewolf. And it was just like, something made him crazy.
Best going, man.
I know.
Wild stuff.
So she says, we could take a walk in the park and find a free bench. I'll even run my fingers through these adorable locks of yours. And I like how Jack, in like typical 10-year-old boy fashion, like pushes her out of the apartment, saying like some other time, which, I know. And Clary is just, yeah, Jack, come on. So right after she leaves, there's a knock on the door. And Jack is like, that Clary just doesn't give up. So he opens the door. But then instead of Clary, it's Lieutenant Lou Hackett saying, hello, Russell. Got some heavy news for you. That was awesome. Such a great 70s line. And Jack is like, news about Lissa?
So yeah, Lou just lets himself in. And Jack had just made himself a snack. Yeah. And Jack had just made himself a snack, so he'd made a sandwich and a glass of milk, after a long walk in the park, thinking of all this heavy stuff. And Hackett comes in and does this like fucking cock block power move and grabs half his sandwich. And he's like, no, it's not about your sister, man. It's about the werewolf. It's like, I found out who it is. Jack's like, you did? He's like, yeah, tasty looking sandwich you've got here. As I was saying, and he picks up a half of the sandwich. The werewolf is your neighbor of yours, Raymond Coker. And Jack's literally sweating bullets. He's like, are you sure? He's eating Jack's sandwich. Again, a big power cock move.
It really is.
Say, don't you want the other half of your sandwich? He's like, no thanks. I'm not really hungry anymore. Like, suit yourself. So he finishes his sandwich. And this is like wolf translation. This would be like pissing all over his fucking den or something. Like,
yeah, Jack is emasculated right now.
Yeah, this is an alpha male move. And he just beta-ized Jack. He's like, well, I'm just hoping that you're going to, help me keep an eye on this guy and like figure out who he is and like you can track him for me. And And then he says, hey, don't you want your glass of milk? It's supposed to keep your teeth real healthy, which is a little nod, obviously, of like your fangs. So he's very heavily handed here and tipping his hand. But so Hackett leaves and Jack slams his fist down the table and the milk spills. Like, what am I going to do now? I can't help him scratch Coker. So he puts on the ugliest sports jacket you've ever seen in your life, which is a fuchsia purpley thing with plaid black stripes. And he says, I couldn't sleep, so, and he goes and knocks on Clary's door, and he's like, hey, Clary, is changing my mind permitted? She's like, sure, just let me change into something less comfortable. So they're going to go out on the town.
Yeah, and then...
Let's talk a bit about Lou there, man. That was big doings.
Yeah, it was. We've kind of been waiting for him to really do something and insert himself into the story, and this is his issue. This is his star turn.
Yeah. So if you recall, he's an ex, I think he was on the Rams, ex like linebacker or something for the Rams or halfback. So yeah, he's a big dude and he has that beautiful hair we were talking about. And I just love seeing him come in here and cockblock Jack and just be like, I mean, that is like next to like coming in and like seducing your woman in front of you and like drawing her away. There's nothing more emasculating than eating your sandwich.
You're right. It is such a funny move. See, on the next page, now we are in a fancy restaurant with like Playboy bunnies as servers. Like, did you get that? I mean, that kind of weird feel for this? Is this a Playboy club?
The people that I thought were cigarette girls are just servers. So it looks like it's something. Yeah. I don't know.
And so, yeah, Jack thinks the joint wasn't exactly my style, if I even have a style, but it made Clary happy and took my mind off kidnapping and werewolves. So they're sitting there and this waiter comes over. And so, a creepy guy basically sends this waiter over with his card, basically just a melody tune. He doesn't give a shit about Jack. And the waiter says, Mr. Geraldo Kabal wishes to join you at your table. But he doesn't wait for permission. Like he kind of swoops over saying, Miss Melody Tune, I believe. I've seen a great number of your films. So we have to stop and say one thing. So Geraldo Kabal, the last few issues has been spelled Kabel. Now it is Kabal. So now he's Geraldo Kabal.
Yeah.
Which was confusing.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah. What is a cabal? I mean, Wikipedia says a cabal is a group of people who are united in some close design, usually to promote their private views or interests in an ideology, a state, or another community, often by intrigue and usually unbeknownst to those who are outside their group. The use of this term usually carries negative connotations of political purpose, conspiracy, and secrecy.
Yeah, so that fits, but I just thought it was a weird, maybe this is Munch's power move on everybody else. It's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. This guy's Geraldo Kabal now.
Yeah, so we've been saying Cable, but I think we should switch to Kabal because Munch clearly intended this.
Yeah, I'll go along with the ride for him. But
Okay.
I thought it was funny, too, that he picked up on what we had talked about for issues and issues now, that he comes over to the table and basically is acting like Clary or Melody Tune is a porn star. This is what someone would do would they see their favorite porn actress at a restaurant would come over and just be like, oh, I've seen a great number of your films.
Like, say, a Stormy Daniels.
Yes. Somebody, he comes over and is just kind of, oozing grossness. Like, Jack does not like this. He thinks that this guy is a regular snake oil salesman, slippery charm oozing from every pore.
Another tip off here that Melody Tune does adult films is he says, I thought so. I've seen a great number of your films.
Yeah.
And typically cheaper films are made more numerously, such as like pornos. You don't say like, oh, Deborah Kerr, I've seen a great number of your movies.
I've seen 300 of your movies. Yeah, I know.
This guy knows what it is. I mean, great's bold and italicized. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
We know what's up. And so, by the way, this guy, who is this? Is this George Hamilton or Ricardo Montalban?
I would have to go with Ricardo Montalban.
Me too.
Yeah. So, he comes over to Clary and he's like, allow me to present you with a small token of my esteem for your prodigious acting talent. And he opens up a small box to reveal a ring that's like shaped like an eye. And I love the panel right after that because Jack just goes fucking nuts. Like in that panel, he just has distress waves all around his head. And he gets this weird, like hypnotized look in his eye, and he grabs the ring and immediately puts it on his finger. And I like how Kabal's like, "What are you doing, sir? The ring was intended as a gift for the young lady." And so Tune has kind of got a cover for Jack a little bit. And she's like, "Don't mind Jack, Mr. Kabal. He sometimes chooses slightly unorthodox ways of brightening an evening."
And she looks in that panel very much like a Steve Ditko woman.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I love that distress lines where it's just like, he sees it, he starts sweating, and these radiating weird plasma waves come out from him, and it's like hypnotic, right? It's like whatever the dog version of catnip is. Like he's just like,
he freaks out. Yeah, it's
and I love that he compulsively grabs it and puts it on.
Yeah, and he looks like a madman as he's doing this too. Like it's so funny.
So yeah, on the next page, Jack's like, he starts approaching him like, because he knows who this guy is. If you recall in previous issues, he said he was told that this guy might have some information about the Kane brothers' estate. So he's like, "Hey, haven't I seen you around the Mallet Studios a lot before?" And he's like, "It's possible. I had a client there and I was handling his will." And then he goes into very explicit detail, like a trunk filled with odd paraphernalia, apparently quite valuable paraphernalia. Just last week, a Baron Thunder offered me a considerable sum for the trunk. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not a big lawyer guy or like a law drama guy, but isn't there some kind of attorney-client privilege? Like, you don't go, I know doctors don't because of HIPAA. You don't go and just blab about your client's wills and stuff, do you?
No, but he's kind of proud that he has a client named Baron Thunder. He's trying to impress Melody Tune, Matt.
Oh, he wants to get his rocks off.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. And then Jack pulls a really weak Rockford. He's like, "Oh, you know the Baron. What a coincidence. He's a friend of mine. In fact, I've been trying to get in touch with him, but I seem to have lost his address." Oldest trick in the book.
It's the oldest Rockford trick in the book, and he's doing it really poorly.
Yeah. And so Geraldo says, "Well, I can certainly help you with that. I just handled the mortgage for his new home on Moonrise Hill." Again, just personal information, just doling it out. And then Kabal gives him directions to the mansion. And so Jack's like, "Well, you guys have a good time. I got a split. I'm sure that Geraldo can get you home. Melody, you're good." And he's so anxious to get out of there, he knocks over one of the waitresses. He's just storming out of there with this like fixed expression of just, fury. He looks like an action figure.
He's leaving Clary with like the creepiest fucker ever, too.
I'm sure you'll get her home.
He's a shitty friend.
Yeah, this is shitty friend night for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we cut right at the next page. Jack arrives at Baron Thunder's old dark house, which is immediately what I thought of. It's as Scooby-Doo of a house as you can get. It's like on a precipice with like a giant stone staircase leading up to it. It says it was like a combination of a haunted house and a condemned tenement, but still it looked close to impregnable. So the writing is, it was a little cheesy there. I just feel like Doug Moench is having some first-time jitters with this title, just a little bit. He writes a great comic. That's a totally great comic, but I just feel like he's not there yet.
I think he's struggling a little bit here.
Yeah, he's close, but he's not there yet. So Jack thinks, don't know what kind of thugs I'll meet in there. Sometimes I wish I could have the werewolf's body and Jack Russell's brain. And that's when the ring began to tingle and I began to change, and he starts changing into the wolf. And he's like, "What? But the moon isn't even full yet." And so he fully changes into the beast. But then he's like, I can still think. And he's like, "Don't know what's going on here, but as soon as I get rid of this constricting shirt, I'm going to find out." I was like, oh, Matt's going to love this.
I did. Yes. I mean, it's like a black turtleneck, I think, or maybe not, but like, yeah, I just love that he's free now. Like even as Jack, he needs to be free.
He does. So yeah, he's as the beast, he starts walking up the long stone staircase to the old dark house.
Yeah, so he bursts in there, and again, this is Jack driving, And he's looking around, and it's just an empty, big old dusty mansion so far. And then he walks up to a wall and starts pounding on it, and apparently he triggers some type of device, and the floor he's on falls out and drops down crazily like an elevator that with a cable broken, essentially. And he says, the floor hit the bottom like the end of an avalanche, and the werewolf's body lithely evaded harm as my mind peered into the gloom to see Lissa. And there's Lissa chained by her wrists to a stone wall, and she's wearing a very revealing tattered pink dress, or even like a underskirt or whatever the hell you call those things. Like it's a little bit much. Like I felt uncomfortable by it. I guess.
I did too. I had to avert my eyes. I'm like, Jesus, she's under 18, right?
Yeah.
No, she looks like a girl that would be in like a Warren or a Skywald magazine.
Definitely. Like the Saga of the Victims. Totally. She looks, her dress is in tatters and she's very vulnerable. So it's a little off-putting. But she says, "Oh no, Jack, it's me, Lissa. Try to control the beast." And Jack thinks, I tried to calm her to let her know I was in full control of the werewolf, but all that escaped me was a growl. So she's saying that to him, and he's going, rah, 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 like Chewbacca, and he can't talk, which I love.
So this next page just blew my mind a little bit. So here's the big reveal. So a scantily clad blonde woman steps out from the shadows saying, "Ah, my friend the wolf, remember me? Of course not. When we met, I was behind this mask of Ma Mayhem, the one who abducted your sister." And she's holding up, like the latex mask of Ma Mayhem. So this woman was Ma Mayhem, the weird little old cleaning lady that we first met in the Behemoth issue, which is a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna go with it. And what did you think of her outfit? What would you compare her outfit to? I had a real hard time trying to describe it.
What's the name of the Hellfire Club gal?
Emma Frost?
Emma Frost. It's almost like that level of like sexualized. It's all white. She's got like a G-string on with a skull in front of her crotch, and then like curtains that go down from her crotch.
But like a human head-sized skull. Like
no, it's
not
a full-on skull. It is not a decorative small skull. It is a skull. And I mean, it's like Emma Frost's sexy level of stuff. And then so we realized that this was actually the person who was in his apartment as California's most powerful witch. So when I said in the show notes it's not Stevie Nicks, I might have been wrong.
Yeah, you might have been wrong. So on the last page we have Lissa chained up half naked, and now we have Ma Mayhem wearing hardly anything. So I think this is what it looks like when this book is written by someone who used to write for Warren and Skywald. Yeah. He's used to a certain way of doing things, but he still has to conform to the comics code, so it doesn't quite work. It's in that weird middle ground.
Yeah.
And so the wolf is we would normally think he's trying to understand this, but he does understand it because he has Jack as the mind. And so you think he's about to do something, and then he just gets fucking cold cocked by a very large fist. It says, "Whatever I was, I lunged to stop it straight into a sledgehammer of a fist, which punched from the murk to stop me."
This looks like a Pantera Vulgar Display of Power. You know that album cover? Where they actually a fan actually got punched in the face, and they took 120 frames per second. So it's like that point of impact. It totally looks like that. Like it's brutal.
Good call. Very, very good call. And we realize that it is Baron Thunder, who has this nice little logo on his belt. He's shirtless. He says, "On your feet, beast. The committee has use for you, and Baron Thunder is the committee." So he's a wrestling villain right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty corny. And then it says at the bottom, "So this was Baron Thunder, 380 pounds of granite muscle topped by a face sculpted from pure mean." It's like, oh my God.
Some of the prose is a little droopy for sure.
Oh God, so
But corny. I like that he says "I am the committee." That made me think of the end of The Return when Coop says "I am the FBI," but it's like the opposite of that.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, this page is great and really corny.
Yeah, super corny. Yes, on the next page, Mom Mayhem. Are we still calling her that? Is that her name? I guess it is, right?
Yeah, I guess. I know. I couldn't figure out what else we should call her. So yeah, we're just calling her Mom Mayhem.
Okay, so at this point, Jack's like kind of thinking to himself, this is the first time I felt like the exhilaration and the raw power of the beast while I'm in control of myself. So he's kind of excited and ready to start fighting. And then Mayhem's like, hey, Baron, he's running that ring. So he's a werewolf in body only. That means that his mind is human and he must lack the ferocity of the wolf. So this is an advantage for the Baron because that berserker Wolverine rage is not there because Jack is a human. So the Baron dives towards him and they start fighting, and then he gets in this weird camel clutch. Is that the term? Like, I grew up in the 80s, so the Iron Sheik is my only reference for this move.
This is definitely an Iron Sheik move.
Okay, so he's on top of the Baron. The Baron's down on his stomach, and he's grabbed him by the jowls, and his feet are planted in his back, and he's just wrenching his neck back as hard as he can. And he says he grunted, wheezed. I felt every rigid contour of his musculature tighten in unison. As he incredibly lurched his ponderous mass to a full stance, stubbornly, I sustained my grip. So the Baron has managed to slowly stagger up and get on his feet while the beast is just yanking back on, or Jack is yanking back on his neck.
This is a wrestling match.
It's full on wrestling.
This is WrestleMania.
Yeah, I have a shot here, but I don't know if we do a shot this whole episode, do we?
Let's do one now. I have to open a beer.
Okay.
To wrestling.
Did we agree that body slams are part of the new regimen?
Let's just say we did.
Okay, good. Well, we just had a drink for that.
We might have one more coming too. Because, yeah, on the next page, so Baron Thunder basically knocks the beast out. He's saying, like, "Ha, we will have your blood yet, my pitiful beast, to strengthen the other members of the committee, as I have been strengthened." So then he picks the dazed beast up and throws him around some more. Like the Baron tells him, "Now, werewolf, because it is only your blood we need, not your life, you shall die." And right as he's going to do that, so the beast kind of comes to right after the Baron is throwing him around again and just gets this awesome slash to the Baron's face. It says at the bottom, "Yeah, so I slashed out and my claws trailed streamers of liquid crimson."
I fucking love that.
I love that too. I was like, okay, that's the kind of cheese I can get behind. That's an awesome sentence.
I know. So my only note for this whole page was roughhousing.
It is.
It is a wrestling match. You're right. Like, I mean, Lissa's in the foreground of one of these things when the Baron's like picking Jack up and body slams him into these machines. And all these machines are like early, Sean Connery, James Bond, like enemy bases, like those, like, whole walls were machined computers and stuff like that. So they're fighting in this kind of scenario where these motherboards are bursting into flame and starting to catch fire. So you've already got this kind of a finale kind of thing ramping up here, right? On the next page, the Baron gets thrown into a bank of computers. The wolf launches into him full force, like parallel to the ground, slams his head into him. The flames are rising and rising. More stuff's exploding and bursting into flame. Mom Mayhem screams out for the Baron, and Lissa screams out for Jack. So they're watching on, concerned, while these guys are destroying this subterranean base.
Yeah, I mean, the action's moving pretty fast now in these couple of pages. So on the next page, like giant flaming machinery, like it's starting to crash down on them. The beast jumps out of the way as Baron Thunder is totally crushed under the wreckage. So Mom Mayhem like runs to help the Baron. And the narration reads, "The chick dressed in weird bolted for the Baron." Isn't that a weird sentence? Like I noticed that. I'm like, the chick dressed in weird bolted for the Baron.
I think he's trying to sound hip.
He's trying to sound hip, but we know Jack is not hip. And the lettering in this issue, God, it really got to me on this page again, to where I'm just like, God, the lettering.
Yeah.
But then so the beast immediately goes to free Lissa. And the narration reads, "The flames were coming close to making a pot roast out of Lissa as I snapped the chains like so many SpaghettiOs."
That's pretty funny.
It's really funny. And Lissa's confused, saying, "Jack, you seem to know what you're doing." And I love that panel of him breaking the chains is so funny. We're going to put that in the feed. The expression on his face is so great.
He looks a little like one of the slower werewolves right there.
He does.
So to note, that moment you said, like when the machinery starts collapsing and the Baron's holding it up and the werewolf leaps aside, Jack makes a note of saying, like, normally if I were the beast, I would not have like heeded this moment. I would have kept fighting the Baron and we both would have fallen, essentially. But because I'm Jack now, I realize I need to get out of here. So he jumps quickly out of the way. So we see one big advantage to having your human mind here.
Mm-hmm.
So in case you can't tell, what is the name of this place? Spooky Moonrise Manor, Daphne and Delight. What is it called?
I think we should call it Spooky Moonrise Manor. I'm not even going to look back.
Okay.
It's just called that now.
So the next page, we have one of those weird pages we've had the last couple of issues, which is, it's not quite a 2-page spread. It's a really huge panel that bleeds over into the second page and then 2 big panels on the right-hand side. It's so weird. I only have seen this in this title, right?
I know. And it's like, I liked it last issue and I don't like it this issue. Like,
Yeah,
it's not consistent to me.
I feel like maybe you could speak to this. Is there like a some way that this is saving them some work by recycling these layouts? Because when I go in my notes and I have all the ads and the letters pages and whatever, you know, like when we go to giant size creatures like last time, I had to change the numbers on which pages you and I were responsible for reviewing. And this time around, it's the exact same, back to the old mode. So are they saving something by doing this? Like, is this easier for the practical printing?
You know, I thought about that too, because we are running into this when we're doing, and these are Perlin issues, you know, the layouts that Perlin is doing, very similar from issue to issue. A lot of times, you know, we've had that opening page that has the 3 tiny panels up top, big panel down below, and they're on the exact same page. And like this weird double page spread that is really like a 3-panel spread is in the exact same place as it was for 2 issues now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand if maybe this is just Perlin really trying to be consistent, but I can't see Moench writing in his script like, okay, man, this is 2 pages, but there's only 3 panels in the 2 pages. And he didn't, because this has been going on for a couple issues now. So it has to be Perlin. Okay. It's got to be Perlin. And I don't know if it's a time-saving thing or him just trying to be really consistent. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I didn't know if there's some like mechanical, like literal, like printing thing where it's like, we've already set the printer up to do this, so it's easier just to stick with this for a while or something.
I mean, it could be. I didn't do that deep of a dive. I'm not sure.
Okay. On this page with the giant panel that bleeds over into a second page, we have the beast in the foreground next to Lissa, and they're both looking on as the flames engulf all the machinery, and the fire's cutting them off from the Baron and Ma Mayhem, so they can't save them. And Lissa says, God help us, Jack. There's nothing we can do. We can't save them. And it says at the bottom end, for a moment I loathed the beast, which had been instrumental in this situation. Wished I'd never changed into the werewolf. And then as he wishes that, he starts turning back into Jack. It says, and then Lissa says, Jack, you're changing, but how? And he's fully Jack again. He says, I don't really know, Lissa, but it has something to do with this ring. And they found a little side staircase that's an escape platform, thank God.
Yeah, this really is. I mean, I just kept thinking of the James Whale movie, The Old Dark House.
Yeah, totally.
So it really is this place. Baron Thunder Manor is the Old Dark House. So yeah, so on the next page, Jack is saying, yeah, somehow this ring enables me to change to the wolf and back again merely by wishing it to happen. And what's more, my mind doesn't change. So yeah, he's trying to open this window. He can't, the window is jammed. So then it says, so I jammed it back with a chair.
Breach.
Yeah. No, breach. That's the sound effect they do for breaking glass. Oh my God. That's a new one. There's a lot of firsts in this issue.
Yeah.
And Jack says, I tried to tell you that I could think, but I couldn't talk. And so he says, I let Lissa jump to safety first. So Lissa, jumps down. And Jack says, and then a couple of flame-sheathed beams decided against letting me follow her. And he's totally being crushed by these flaming beams. He says, I was reminded of the Baron as the beams pinned me to the floor. Then as 2 or 3 of my ribs became squeezing bands of sharp pain, and as I realized I could never free myself, I was reminded of The Ring. He's like, oh yeah, that thing I just got done explaining to Lissa about. He's like, all I have to do is wish if I had the werewolf strength. And I actually like that last panel of Jack, like super muscular and like pushing on the beams. Like he looks great.
Yeah, I like it too. The only issue I had with this is when Lissa jumps out of the window, and we've already established that this is like a cartoonish haunted house. So it's like you said, it's a precipice of like 40 yards of just like sheer cliff face on a path, and then a little bit of a rounded thing. It's like the House of Usher, right? It's just like out on this nebulous cliff. And so she jumps out of the window, and it looks like she's just going over the edge, like literally just like free fall into mist and dragons.
Yeah.
That's just a weird panel to me.
Yeah, it's a weird panel. Oh, this is a great page. Yeah.
So Jack said, if I had the werewolf strength, and then the ring vibrates and he turns into the werewolf. And now he has the werewolf strength. So he's pushing up against that, and he shoves it off, and he rolls out of the way as the flaming beam falls back down next to him. And he leaps for the window, and his open claw thwacks the side of the window frame, and the ring falls off. And so there's a great panel here at the end where the last panel of this page, he's jumping out the window. We see him from the outside, and he's halfway turned back into Jack. So he still has like pointy ears and like fangs, and he's just shocked and horrified, like, what the fuck? Because he was just a werewolf like 2 seconds before, and he's banked by flames coming out as half Jack now.
Yeah, he almost looked like Vampire Jack in that transition a little bit. It was just like, oh, okay. So yeah, Jack is free. Jack and Lissa run to the car and just like peel out just as shit starts to blow up. And yeah, the house is just blowing up. The narration reads, we'd almost reached the car when the first explosion blasted a hole in the night behind us. And we were fishtailing a curve with burnt rubber when the double-barreled ones ripped loose. One in the house itself, the other rupturing the side of the mountain as the subterranean machinery complex blew. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
And the sound effects, this is like Michael Bay shit. It's fucking rad. So as the mansion's exploding, the underground layer is exploding too. So you have a baroom and then a choom, and then he's fishtailing out of there going,
yeah.
So cool.
It is. It's great. And so the last two panels, Lissa says, Jack, they wanted your blood. He's like, yeah, sounded like the Baron believed werewolf blood was the key to superhuman strength. But what bothers me is that they kidnapped you to lure me here, which means they knew the werewolf was your brother, me. And someday I intend to find out how they knew. And then, yeah, we get the final sound effect blow up, just a kabloom, and the entire fucking mountain just blows up.
Oh, man.
And then at the bottom there, it has our little preview for next issue. It says, next, Circle of Wolves. So it's a pretty exciting issue. I totally understand. No, I totally get it. I'm really excited for Moench, for his style and his insanity. And I almost feel like the Friedrich issues really prepared us for the craziness that's going to come.
Yeah, I guess you can't cling to gothic horror and literary roots the entire time, right? At some point, you have to kind of... They know they don't want him to hang out with Spider-Man and hang out in the X-Men's mansion. They know they don't want to do that, but they can't just have it all be gothic-y horror ad infinitum. It has to meet some halfway, right, between comic booky action and gothic horror. So this is this weird pulpy thing that I just really dig. Like the Ring, man. Like, I love it. Like it's the same. Like in Twin Peaks, the ring means a lot too, right? Like I just love that symbology and the power of like this symbol that you put on, and it changes who you are and the way that you operate. I love shit like that.
Yeah, you're right. When you call it pulpy, this really is more of an old pulp style from now on, to where it's just crazy villains and goofy bullshit being thrown everywhere. And yeah, it's super fun. And you're right. They mix it up. They try not to get stuck in a gothic horror rut. Mm-hmm. And whatever Moench and Perlin are doing, they obviously were successful at it because, like we said, they're on the book for the rest of the run.
Yeah. And we're not even halfway through the run.
No. So whatever they were doing, Roy Thomas was totally cool with it.
Yeah. And again, I mentioned at the top here that a lot of people think this is kind of when it jumps the shark, when like the rings and the magic devices come in. Like to me, that's when it gets super fun. Like I've obviously loved pretty much everything we've talked about so far, but this kind of goofy, weird Saturday matinee pulpy stuff just completely fucking strokes my hide.
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, I get how. I mean, you and I are in agreement. There's a golden age. There's a Conway Plug era,
Right.
and that is the stuff that you're going to show someone first. If they're like, "Hey, what is Werewolf by Night about?" You're going to give them Conway Plug, definitely to start with.
Yeah, the complete collection, volume 1. That would be what you would give someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if
I think
you had one thing to give.
Yeah, and I think once they've digested that, then they're ready for the pulpy craziness that kind of comes afterwards. It's not inferior. It's just I don't know if it's quite as good as the golden age of this comic, but it's definitely fun and definitely cool.
I just felt like they embraced the absurdity of it, and like. So, I mean, we've talked the entire time about how the villains are disposable. They'll introduce someone and it's like he's gone. Except for the Hangman, I don't think anyone we've met besides Dracula even comes back anywhere in the Marvel Universe, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm very curious about Baron Thunder and Ma Mayhem.
Yeah, that was my other question about this thing was like, what was the purpose of Moench repurposing Ma Mayhem into a sexy young thing and then killing her immediately, apparently?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I thought the exact same thing.
So that was an odd choice, but I love this stuff. I love the ring thing. I love that this concept of like transferable lycanthropy. And if you are a lycanthrope, it can alter the way you are a lycanthrope. I love that weird, just squishy, non-solid, like just trust me, man. This is how it works.
Well, and it's totally unique. He's taking a werewolf story and doing something completely different and out of the blue, out of the box with it. And that's really cool.
Yeah. So I dig it. I'm a big fan of this. The art isn't perfect. Honestly, more often than not, I appreciate the art in here.
Yeah. The art's not going to be perfect until Coletta's off the book.
Yeah. Agreed.
I've looked forward a few issues just looking at some of the art, and God, when Perlin does his own inks, he's great. Like there's some really great art coming up.
I feel like again, this is all just like very subjective, but I feel like the kind of consensus online is that, once Plug was gone and Perlin settled in, the book took a slump, and once, Moench kind of settled in, it slumped and never really recovered. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that it suffered with Perlin and Coletta, and then once that stink dissipates, that fart goes away, it was too late. You lost too many people and too much had happened. But I don't think that it really dips that much, to be honest with you. I mean, nobody's going to touch Plug. I'm not a fool. I know that. But the quality of art when Perlin's inking himself is completely reasonably acceptable to me. I don't know. Am I being slobby about it?
No, not at all. I mean, Perlin's great. And he drew more issues of Werewolf by Night than anyone else. Yeah. By far. So he's great. He's great. I'm glad to have him, and I'm anxious to see what he's going to do in the upcoming issues.
So what is your take on the pulpy like rings and stuff like that get brought up here?
Oh, I love it. No, you're right. I mean, it's just so off the wall that I think it's cool. And it's funny, I thought of the Twin Peaks thing too. But maybe that's just like with both of us. Twin Peaks is always just right under our thoughts in everything. So
it's not even under. It's right present at all times. But yeah, I just love that concept. So I'm excited for what's coming next, and I hope you like it. It goes some places. How far ahead have you read?
I've just read 2 issues ahead.
Okay. So yeah, there's some lows, but I think that the way that you and I approach this stuff, even in the lows, we're going to find good stuff. I like that we're doing this because we do find cool things. I mean, there's some issues where I haven't been a fan of, and I've liked them after you and I have talked about them. So
yeah, it's funny. I have this weird voice in the back of my head now, ever since, listening to the podcast Marvel by the Month, and those guys have this comic writer named Joe Keating on, who wrote Shudder and Ringside, so some of my favorite modern comics. He's a Portland guy. And so, they'll talk about these Marvel issues from the 60s. And Joe Keating is always kind of like just being, because it's easy to make fun of this stuff. I mean, if you want to take some shots, they're all there. It's really easy to do. But he's always the first to be like, don't dunk on this stuff. It's easy to do that.
Yeah.
but to try to find out what is good with this, to try to, meditate on why these things work, why they were successful, why they draw people in, that's a much more interesting tack to take than just making a bunch of easy jokes at this stuff.
Yeah. Keating?
Yeah, Joe Keating. He's great.
That sounds like my kind of guy. I don't know if you're not on Twitter, but there's a current Twitter thing going on this week, which is, I don't want to sound like an angry old man, but there's this thing going on where there's younger people saying, don't vilify me as a film fan or a aspiring filmmaker because I don't like old movies. They're not accessible. They're racist. They're sexist. They're corny. They were censored. And so if I don't like these old things, don't tell me that I don't like film. And there's been this pushback from all of us old folks saying, no, fuck you. Because seriously, fuck you. Because that's saying hey, man, I'm a painter. I don't like old, stupid, dumb paintings. Big deal. I just like modern paintings. Well, then you're a fucking idiot. If you don't care about the entire history of the art form that you claim to be passionate about, then fuck you. You don't know what you're fucking talking about. Same thing with books, dude. Like Cervantes, right? I mean, Don Quixote is fucking modern, the first modern novel, and it reads like a fucking modern book. It's self-aware. It's cracking jokes on itself. It's bending in on itself and reflecting itself. It's fucking brilliant. And if you don't like that,
it's from the 1600s,
it's
right?
the 16 fucking hundreds. So I hate to take a hard line on stuff like this, but if you don't like that shit, then you're fucking stupid. Yeah. It's that same type of thing where this big Beatles pushback came back around the late 90s where it's no, it's cool to hate on the Beatles. But it's not. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're trying to be interesting because you have no personality. But if you continue to live, you'll see that actually the Beatles are fucking amazing and they created pretty much all music that came after them. But whatever, that's not jazz. But sure.
No,
tell me about how they're shitty.
I understand. Yeah, that's a little bit of a cranky old man thing, but I totally agree. I mean, I think that if you're invested in a medium, if you're going to choose to make art in a certain medium, I think having even a cursory knowledge of what came before is important. I do understand. And a lot of people, it's like my kids' generation, my kids are in their 20s, and a lot of what they say is kind of the same thing. They're just yeah, we just don't watch a lot of stuff from the 50s because it's all really racist. And I can't argue with them. I'm yeah, it is. There's lots of problematic stuff. But it's trying to find those things, and there is stuff that is not problematic at all also, and that is really beautiful. I think it's a personal choice, of course, but I think that as a historian, you want to know about this stuff. Of course, not everything in the past is going to be good, and there's going to be stuff that is offensive to our more modern sensibilities, and I think that's fine. But yeah, totally writing off everything that came before because it's not as enlightened is kind of foolish.
It's ignorant.
Yeah, I would think so. I understand.
Sorry, I believe it's straight up ignorance. If you cannot change your lens to look at art that came before whatever your modern sensibilities are and appreciate it for what it offers to the medium, then you're ignorant. That's just ignorance to me. I know someone whose girlfriend would not watch anything that was not color. Well, that was just a stance. I do not watch black and white movies. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. You won't watch Sunset Boulevard? Fuck you. You're fucking stupid. That movie reads as modern today.
Yeah.
That's not. I don't get it, man. I shut down at that point. I've always been a geek for old shit, so I know that I'm biased, and I know that you are archivist and a fucking appreciator of all human endeavors that are artistic and in the history of humankind. But I can't fucking hang with those people, man. I can't do it. I'm too old.
I totally understand. And it's wrong to blanket everything old as good or bad because, you have on the good side, you have The Third Man, but then you also have Birth of a Nation, which obviously you would not want to watch and it is terrible. Right. But and those are
we shouldn't abolish it.
No, we should not. But it should, that's something that you don't.
Historical record of a terrible time.
Yeah, exactly. But you and I talked about this maybe a year or two ago when right before the Shazam movie came out. DC had planned on doing a really lavish reprint of the Captain Marvel from the 30s and 40s story. It's this long serialized story called the Monster Society of Evil, I think this is what the title was. And they were going to do this big thing. And I had read in a lot of like comic history things, I think especially in that Steranko History of Comics, they talk about that as like this perfect example of the comic storytelling medium. And so I was like, oh, cool, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'd never even seen it. So yeah, I'm really excited. And then they canceled it. They were just like, well, it's really racist and shitty, so we're gonna cancel it. And I remember at first I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. I wanted to read that. But then I went online, because you can find it online. Like it's almost public domain, like some of that old stuff. And so I went on like on a public domain comic site, and I read at least half of the whole serial. And it is really fucking racist, like really terrible, like way more terrible than other stuff from that time period. And so after I read that, I'm like, God, this is kind of gross. Like I totally understand why they canceled this, especially when this new movie that's kind of geared towards kids is going to come out. And so I agree with their stance to where, no, this stuff shouldn't be censored or obliterated, but maybe it shouldn't be celebrated by giving it a giant, like lavish hardcover reprint. Yeah, totally. You can look at it in a scholarly context, look at it in a historical context. And yeah, I think that is a really good example of what to do with pretty problematic racist shit. And it was worse than I could imagine, honestly.
Interesting.
Like,
I've never read it.
I can't believe they even planned on reprinting it. I don't know how far that got up the chain before. I can't even talk about it. Like it's so bad.
I feel like this comes up a lot with like Lovecraft. Like Lovecraft was a sickly, xenophobic, racist, sad boy who lived with his mommy and wrote these stories and sent them in to be published by pulp magazines. And there's been this pushback in the woke era of like, well, this guy is like super racist. And, I was talking with my friend John Morgan, who was up here for a comic show, and we were at brunch before going to the comic show. And he was like, I was talking about how sticky it is to love Lovecraft, because I do. I've always loved Lovecraft, and I understand his biases, and I understand that he's a completely flawed individual and totally disgusting, racially speaking, but his body of work is amazing. And the people that he influenced, like much like Velvet Underground and Nico, like didn't sell a lot of stories, but everybody that fucking read it started writing, right? Same thing with VU. And John had an interesting point. He said, isn't his racism and xenophobia like core to his value as a writer? Like, could he have created the Elder Gods and this cosmic dread and everything else without being scared of the outside world and without being racist, essentially? Like, isn't that kind of key to his work's appeal? And that was an interesting question. I never thought of it that way, but it kind of is.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. Yeah, Lovecraft is so sticky because it's not, his personal case is not like it was the style of the time. Everyone was. No, he wrote pamphlets about, how black people were savages. He went on speaking tours and would give like long lectures that is the most racist shit you will ever hear. So yeah, he's a really complicated individual. He has written some of the greatest stories of all time, but was an active, terrible racist.
Yeah.
So on a lot of these things, I've come to the conclusion that it really is a personal moral judgment that we're all going to make case by case. Some of the stuff we're going to be okay with, not knowing. I mean, realizing that, maybe the writer, the author, the filmmaker had some really terrible shit going on and had some really wrong and awful views. But some of their art might be good enough to at least try to take in. I don't know. It's a very sticky situation. It's something that I struggle with a lot because, like you said, I mean, my wife and I, live in other decades. A lot of the stuff that we most of the stuff that we take in is from, the turn of the century to the 60s. Like that's the majority of the stuff that we read, that we watch, that we listen to. And yeah, you have to kind of take it on a case by case basis.
Yep. It's complicated.
It is very complicated. I understand a younger generation wanting to take a hard line, wanting to take a kill your idols type of thing, which I understand. I get the punk rock ethos of, the Sex Pistols hating Pink Floyd in the 70s. I get it. I totally get it. And I think there's something that's valuable about that, but also something that's kind of insufferable about it at the same time.
Yeah, I'm with you. On the other show I did, That's Cool, That's Trash, we had an episode around the film Clown House from 1989 by Victor Salva, who is a guy that also did Jeepers Creepers. And we did the episode for the point of talking about, can you separate the art from the artist? Because the kid who is the star of that film Clown House was groomed and raped by the director Victor Salva. So he did time for this. So we did a whole episode about like, let's review the film, but let's have a bigger conversation about, should we be saying, 10 years after he made this film, he made a movie called Jeepers Creepers. That was a huge kind of sleeper indie horror hit. Should he even be working? Why are people giving him jobs? Why is he still working today? Where's my moral line to draw about, this is okay or not okay? It's a really good conversation, which I think that people might want to check out. But I find that balance really precarious, and it's definitely a case by case thing. But I have a really hard time talking about it, and I love to talk about it though. So yeah, I don't know, like Orson Scott Card, right? Thinking about that guy, man.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
He's an anti-LGBTQ guy, and I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like I feel like if I cared about his shit, that might be different. I don't read his shit.
Yeah,
I do like Roman Polanski. I love The Tenant. I love Rosemary's Baby. You know.
It's really complicated.
Yeah, it's not easy stuff.
No, and it's something I really struggle with. I go back and forth, and I've had lots of really good conversations, especially with my son, about this old media, and he paid me a compliment that I wasn't fishing for, but he was like, you do a pretty good job, Dad, of dealing with problematic media and deciding what to focus on and what to leave off. So I was like, all right, I at least do an okay job. But I won't lie, I feel bad sometimes. I feel like, shit, should I be what is this too bad? Is this person too bad? Should I not? But it's a weird thing, because I will watch Rosemary's Baby if it's on, but I do feel slightly strange, just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's always going to be there. And I'm totally up for people who make that argument of just like, no one should watch his movies because he's a fucking child rapist. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get that too. I totally understand that argument and even agree with you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think this conversation is going to go away anytime soon. I think it's something that all of us are going to struggle with forever.
Yeah, definitely. I think as far as like, just to wrap this up, as far as like, I'm not in favor of any censorship of this stuff. So I know cancel culture is its own thing, but like, I'm not okay with someone pulling Rosemary's Baby from whatever outlets it's in because they don't like the way that the director lived his life. And I definitely don't like the idea of academic texts and things being censored. I think that that's a prime opportunity for conversation. So I think that like if there's a book that's racist or whatever, there should be an insert at the beginning of the thing that says like, so here are the racial themes that go on here. Consider this, consider the time, consider blah, blah, consider this, have a discussion about, like, if you're having an active discussion and you're thinking about things and being critical, I'm cool with that. If you're just saying you're canceled, you're dead, you're done, I have a bigger issue with that, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, I can agree with you on that. I don't think that stuff that is problematic should be celebrated, but I don't think it should be censored either. I think it should exist in a historical context.
I guess that's my point, is like there should be historical context, a framework applied to it. So, you don't just throw this work out there to your students, your young, vulnerable students, and say, here's, Uncle Tom's Cabin or whatever. Like, I mean, you say, here's a framework. Like, this is, it's not really trigger warnings, but whatever you want to call it. Like, just something that places it in a time and says, please understand, this is not the 21st century. This is the 19th century. Things were different. If you can't change your lenses and look at something in a different way, then you're not being critical enough. You're not giving history a fair shake. If you refuse to read about Egyptian history because there were slaves, then I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, I guess we can't talk to each other. Like, slaves were a fact of history. So if we're not interested in celebrating that by talking about history, human history, then I don't know what to tell you. You're wasting your money here at my college.
Yeah, even though I think it was more like, 5 or 6 years ago when the right wing, like Fox Media, got all pissy about trigger warnings. I remember when that phrase kind of came more to the forefront. Prominence. Yeah, I remember being like, what the fuck's the problem? I think that's great. I think that, that students that are taking a college class, if there's a book or a film that's going to deal with rape, well, yeah, absolutely let people know that that's going to be a part of this content. So maybe someone that has been a survivor of sexual assault gets a little warning and kind of prepares themselves or leaves. I was just like, I thought that trigger warnings solves a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I think it solves almost everything, because it's like, hey, we realize that there's going to be some really tough shit that we're going to discuss. And if you're not okay with it, you can totally take off and it's fine. I think that that's a merciful and compassionate way to discuss really difficult stuff. So I have no problem with trigger warnings. I think they're great.
I don't either, especially if they're like under hidden flap. So it's like, would you like to see some trigger warnings? Then you can. Do you not want to know that Psycho might have some shower stabbings? Then just don't even touch this. Like, you know what I mean? If you have no trigger issues, just watch Psycho by yourself. If you have some abuse issues or whatever, misogyny stuff, then I want to read this little warning here.
Yeah, no, I think they're amazing. I don't know why. I mean, even the word trigger warnings now just has such like, the Fox News assholes have loaded that with all this like, don't tell me what to think bullshit.
Yeah,
and
Steve Doocy.
I think that's great. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Oof, we got off on a thing here.
That mainstream reaction to that type of shit is just based on, this is the norm. This slab, this monolithic norm. I'm white, I'm male, I have privilege, and if anything doesn't fit in that thing, then you have a need that doesn't fit in that, then you're weak.
Yeah.
Then you're the problem. And
that's...
Thank God we're shedding away from that and like going into an enlightened time, in my opinion, of like, let's talk about people having different needs. Let's talk about people having different levels of access to society and this, services.
Well, we can hope things are getting better. We have a new administration, so hopefully that's going to guide things into a bit less awful state of being.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's drink on it. All right. So we got through that. Hey, Mark, there's some of that trademark rambling you like so much. I hope you like that.
Oh my God, that was long.
But to me, that's actual discourse, which I think is valuable. So
no, I agree.
Not scripted, but whatever. But let's do Werewolf by Night. So I think in the last episode, Jacob, we were talking about how cool it is when future writers or artists wrote into comics columns. And we actually have one of those in this issue. So I'm going to read one of these letters. So this is from Peter B. Gillis. We'll talk about him in a minute. Dear Werewolf people, unfortunately, no. I do not think that Mike Friedrich has the werewolf style down pat. Not by a long shot. For the first time, a werewolf cried. Indeed. That's so totally maudlin and out of character that I wondered if Mike had read the previous 18 installments of our slightly shaggy Spider-Man. Mike's characters have always been painted with broad strokes, larger than life. Mike did a nice job with Jim Starlin on Captain Marvel, where the scope was cosmic, and the participants all primary colors. But Werewolf, with its shadows and mysterious figures, The biggest elements in WbN are mood and menace. By explaining that the Hunchback is a mutant, Mike killed all the mystery. How much more effective would it have been if no explanation were given? As it is, We have a supervillain instead of a horror. And what menacing thing does he do? Hijacks a plane and kidnaps a girl? That's awfully thin. Someone is menacing either for what he is, Dracula, or what he does, like Dr. Sun in Tomb of Dracula. We didn't get either. Mike evidenced a few super heroic compulsions, which simply do not work in a horror book. 1. Explain everything. 2. Build up tension only at the end. 3. Have lots of fighting. 4. Tie it all up neatly. I think Mike is misplaced on this strip. Superheroes are his bag. Peter B. Gillis, Elmsford, New York. No response to that. What do you think?
I get what he said. I feel like the last panel of issue 18 just made him so mad with the "and now a werewolf cried." And even you and I thought that was a pretty stupid line and kind of a stupid ending. It's not great, but I feel
even though
like
he set it up earlier in the issue.
Yeah, he totally did. Like, it was absolutely a setup. And yeah, I think that Peter Gillis just got really angry about that and then just decided to unload on Friedrich, which I don't agree with him on at all. I loved the Friedrich issues.
Yeah, me too. So Peter B. Gillis is known for going on to work for Marvel and First Comics. He wrote the Strike Force Morituri series, which is kind of a fan favorite after the fact. He wrote the Shatter graphic novel, which was the first digitally produced art graphic novel. He wrote Grimjack and John Sable, and he did a ton of stuff at Marvel. Some Black Panther from the 88 series, Captain America, Defenders, Doctor Strange, Eternals, Iron Man Annual, John Carter, Warlord of Mars, Marvel Fanfare and Premiere, Superheroes Volume 2, Marvel 2-in-1, Master of Kung Fu, Micronauts, Savage Sword of Conan. This guy was all over the place. So yeah, I love when these guys grow up and actually do this work when they write in.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's one of my favorite things.
Also, if you've ever written into a comic, we would love to hear like what you wrote into. Have you ever done it, Jacob?
No, I didn't, but I just had a conversation with a friend of mine recently that got that wrote into Gru the Wanderer back in the 80s and actually got printed and a reply.
I've been printed.
Really?
I'm published. Yeah.
Okay. Where at?
That was, I'll have to look it up. It was during Spider-Man Brand New Day, pretty early on in that thing. Ooh. So 2009, 2010.
That's a pretty famous run.
Yeah, if you want, I'll pull it up and read it in a future episode.
Oh, I would love that. That would make me so happy.
But yeah, listeners, if you have written in and had your stuff published, we would love to hear it. So send it to us at werewolfbynightpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear it.
Definitely.
So there's some discourse about Jack. If you recall, folks, people were saying, wouldn't it kind of ruin the tension if Jack's first-person narration kind of reveals the fact that he survived this peril? And so this goes on for a while, but I chose a different letter because we've also talked about women reading comics. You know, there was that line published in the early 72 to try and get girls to read comics, not realizing that women already did. So this is a female letter. Dear Mike and Mike, great, just great. Werewolf by Night number 16 was beautiful, putting the werewolf's urge to kill the hunchback up against Jack Russell's ability to reason, a little bit sneaked through at times, as in panel 2 on page 22, and Jack's emotions, last page, made the whole issue, as I said before, just great. I really liked your cover, Plug, so keep up the good work. You, Friedrich, are just as good as Wolfman, so I have no complaints. I'd like to see a closer relationship between Jack and Topaz, just a passing fancy, I guess. Anyhow, make mine Marvel. Heidi Schulman, Edison, New Jersey. And the response was, so this is kind of like them responding to several letters. And that's how the mail went, folks, with Mike Friedrich scripting on Werewolf 16 receiving a resounding yes, vote from an overwhelming majority of Marvelites, and Mike Plug's artwork garnering accolades from virtually every correspondent. We're grateful, folks. Both Mikes offered their sincerest thanks for your warm response to their efforts. Since that issue, however, this always comes up, right? Since that issue, however, there have been a number of personnel changes on Werewolf. So many, in fact, that as this letters page is being composed, we're not quite certain who's on the strip this issue. We can say, however, with reasonable certainty, that Doug Moench either has with this issue or will with next issue be handling the scripting of the hairy one, with the able hand of Don Perlin pushing the pencil and making the pictures. Doug is also doing our new Man-Wolf series for Creatures on the Loose and will soon be assuming the writing reins on Master of Kung Fu, and one or two other features as well, not to mention his work for our black and white mags. Jesus, he was busy. Meanwhile, Mike Friedrich is plugging away as ever on Iron Man and Kazar, and Mike, too, will be tackling a new feature or three in the months to come. As for Mike Plug, he's chained to the drawing board, turning out monthly masterpieces on our Macabre Man-Thing mag. And if you were wowed by his work on Werewolf, Frankenstein, Ghost Rider, and Cole, just wait till you see what that guy can do with a swamp. No kidding. It's some of Mike's finest, eeriest work yet. Don't miss it. And if you're ready for this, Mike, too, is working on a brand new feature, one whose name we can't reveal just yet, that we predict is going to take Marveldom by storm. Now on to another matter, a curious controversy raised by one letter in Werewolf number 16. And that's the whole first-person voice thing.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, that was a great bunch of letters. Yeah, I know. I hate it when people, or like, comic book assholes make the whole thing of just like, girls don't read comics.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, the data is not there to support that. Like it's even the opposite in the late 40s, early 50s. From all the numbers that at least they had gotten, somehow it seemed like women were at least 55 to 60% of the readership.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely in the golden age, it was almost more.
To what do they ascribe that? Like, why?
I don't know, really. I was trying to think about that. I'm not sure, because they're trying to. Servicemen in World War II, got really hooked on comics. And so they were kind of thinking that maybe like, dads coming home from the war might, try and share comics with their kids. But yeah, girls just really latched on to comics pre-war, and were a huge readership. I'm not saying they were 60% in 1974. I don't think comics did themselves any favors, at least in that area.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's always been a huge readership, and it's stupid that people think that it wasn't.
See, I thought you were going to say that they attributed some of that to men being in the service and women being home, like just bored, like the same way you do crosswords or Sudoku or something.
I guess, I don't know.
I guess if you don't know the age, you can't really figure out what it is, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly where all the data for that comes from.
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that I'd like to read a lot more about. The basic bottom line: women have always read comics, always, from 1939 to today,
from ancient Egypt to today. Yeah. Well, what other business you got? Any other media stuff? I don't have anything.
I don't think so. No, I think we talked a lot about a lot of different stuff. So yeah, maybe we should just call it here.
Okay.
So for our next episode, we're going to do something a little special. So there are two magazines, a magazine called Monsters Unleashed, in issues 6 and 7. There are text stories. There's a 2-part prose story that Jerry Conway wrote with a few spot illustrations by Mike Plug. But instead of just basically talking about 2 text stories, we're going to try something different, and we're going to try and turn it into a bit of an old radio drama. So Matt and I are going to work really hard on this, and hopefully you'll love it. We're excited to do it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Cool. Well, make sure to send us your letters, your questions, your whatevers, and we'll see you here next week. Till we meet again beneath the full moon, furry ones. Here's how and at ya.